Many people were getting their first chance to see what had happened to their homes, apartments, and businesses. Many had been in such a state of shock following the tornado, they remembered little of what had happened Tuesday. But their first real look at what was left would be one they would never forget. It was a time to dig through the ruins of their homes, their security, for what was left to begin rebuilding with. The destruction was beyond belief. Nothing was spared. Nature had shown no pity on terrible Tuesday. Gary Ritter was one of those seeing what was left of his home, where he rode out the storm.
It was just totally unbelievable. It was something that I never thought I'd ever experience in my life. My son and I were in the house, and we watched it from the direction of Memorial Stadium on the way. I had all the windows open on the far side of the house, and they started crashing out, and I grabbed him and put him underneath my shirt, and we laid down on in the hallway. And after it was all over, that's about all that was standing. Everything else was almost totally destroyed.
What are you going to be able to do?
Well, I'm thankful to the Lord that my wife and my son and I are all alive, so right now I just try to pick up the pieces, make the best of it. I know there's a lot of people that are worse off than I am, so I pray for them.
Command Post Number 1 was still alive with activity as aid and volunteers were arriving constantly to help with the cleanup operation and the search for injured and dead who might be trapped beneath what used to be their homes and businesses. Texas Governor Bill Clemons was the first of many dignitaries to visit the disaster area. He met with city and county officials, flew over the area, then held a news conference.
There's no question but what the damage is far more extensive than I had anticipated. It's really a devastated area out there, as we have been able to survey it from the air. We have discussed this at length with Mayor Hill and also Judge Backus, county judge. And of course, they are the ones who are your elected officials, both within the city and within the county. And essentially, it is their responsibility, and the state is in support of them totally. And we have informed both the mayor and the judge that this is the way it is, and that as they need help, we are prepared to give them help. The area is, in part, it is totally demolished. Those houses are not damaged, they're gone.
Shortly after that, United States Congressman Jack Hightower visited the area and had these comments about what he saw.
Well, it just cannot be described. You cannot understand the extent of the damage. We had understood that there was considerable damage, but to see it and to see it from that perspective, it's just overwhelming. We have so many homes destroyed, so many businesses leveled. It's amazing to me, it's a miracle that there wasn't a greater loss of life than we've had.
United States Senator John Tower from Wichita Falls also looked over the city within 24 hours of the disaster.
I've never seen worse devastation in a natural disaster than what I saw here today, and I've been in several hurricanes and other tornadoes, and I've never seen so much damage done to one city in my experience.
You plan to be here for a couple of days. What will you be doing?
Anything I can to help out, and if there's any red tape that perhaps I can help cut or anything of that sort, I'm just available to be of whatever help I can be.
From what you saw in the air this morning, would you say about a third of Wichita Falls was hit?
That might be a good estimate. Certainly the south part of town and the eastern part of town are really in bad shape.
The Emergency Operations Center at the police station was still going strong the next morning after the tornado, with the path of destruction clearly marked on the city map, an area that people looked at but still could not believe. By that afternoon, the Wichita Falls City Council was meeting in special session just down the hall from the Emergency Operations Center to declare the city in a state of disaster emergency, to set a citywide curfew, and to pass an ordinance to stop one of the tragedies that accompanies disasters, price gouging.
It is hereby declared that a state of disaster emergency exists in the city of Wichita Falls because of the tornado which struck the city on April the 10th, 1979. After 7 o'clock p.m. until 6:30 a.m., no unauthorized persons will be in or remain in those areas of the city which were struck by such tornadoes. Because of the lack of lighting and traffic control devices in the rest of the city, which is not struck by the tornado, no person shall be on or remain on the streets in those areas after 9 o'clock p.m. until 6:30 a.m. Finding that there has been a substantial disruption of the local free competitive market in the purchase or sale of the hereinafter described goods and services, there is hereby set as a maximum retail price for the hereinafter described goods and services the price charged by the seller of such goods or services in the city limits of Wichita Falls on April the 10th, 1979, before such tornado occurred.
The mayor followed with a very lengthy list of what the city considered essentials and warned retailers that any unauthorized price increase of those items would result in charges being filed and a fine being levied. By the end of the first day, Wichita Falls was starting to come out of its state of shock. Electricity had been restored to most of the city. And the rebuilding process was beginning. But not without its problems. $1 a gallon gasoline in some places, and looters in many places. About 1/5 of the city had been destroyed by the tornado on Terrible Tuesday, and Wichita Falls was down, but not out.
Of course, Terrible Tuesday wasn't just confined to Wichita Falls. It was awful all over, as up to a dozen twisters are reported to have hit Texoma. Ken Kane has a look at other communities which also sustained damage.
The 3 hours of hell began at 3:30 in the afternoon in Vernon. The twister packed winds in excess of 150 miles per hour, cutting a large swath through town. The storm caused $20 million in damage, including the destruction of 155 homes. 10 died in Vernon, 166 were injured,